Hello, today we're going to talk about the diagnostic teaching method and just kind of give you an overview about what diagnostic teaching means. The main points of the diagnostic teaching method is frequent assessment. In other words, we're trying to be very specific about assessing students and knowing what they are, where they are, what they can do, and what they need. We assess before, during, and after reading or any other kind of instruction. Another point of diagnostic teaching method is just plain good teaching strategies. And as we go through these videos, we'll be talking about just what makes good teaching happen. A third point that is very important to DTM is the use of strategies to improve learning. And we will be talking about specific strategies that you can use, particularly in teaching students literary skills, things that have to do with literacy, reading, writing, learning to comprehend, improving their vocabulary. These are things that are very important to DTM. All I said that one of the main points of DTM was assessment. When you think about assessment, what do you think about? Do you think about studying for a test and maybe doing poorly and getting real stressed out? That's not what we mean when we talk about assessment in DTM. In DTM, we mean assessment is finding out exactly where students are so that you can really teach what they need to know, finding out if you're being effective while you're doing instruction, and then afterwards finding out how much they've learned. So when we talk about assessment, it's finding out information to help you be a better teacher. Think about going to a doctor. Think about the word diagnosis. How would you feel if you went to a doctor and before he even asked you what was wrong with you, he just gave you some medicine? You wouldn't trust that doctor very much. You know, you go in and the doctor talks to you, he maybe does some tests, he finds out exactly what the problem is, and then he can be very specific in helping you to solve that problem, give you just the right treatment to help you get better. That's what we mean when we talk about diagnostic teaching, to be like a doctor and do tests and find out exactly what students need so that we can give them the best instruction to help them get better. We find out what is wrong as early as possible so it can be corrected. So when we think assessment, why do we assess? First of all, we assess to find out students' prior knowledge. How much do they already know? This is important for two reasons. First of all, it helps us know where to start. We don't want to be teaching things they already know, and we don't want to be teaching so far ahead of them that they can't understand it. So we want to know exactly what they know so we know where to start. The second reason is that if we access students' prior knowledge, we talk about what they already know, we can connect that new learning to old learning, to what they already know. This is how students remember things. We'll revisit this concept. The other is to know how fast we're going. When we're teaching, we need to stop frequently and find out if the students are following us to see if we're going too fast, if we're going too slowly, so that we can make sure that students are learning. We need to know if we need to reteach. Maybe they didn't get it, and we need to try something else. And we need to discover exactly who has learned it and who hasn't, so we can help those who are having problems. There are two kinds of assessment, and we want to concentrate on doing both of those as we look through the diagnostic teaching method. Remember, assessment is to find out what students know and can do. So one thing that we often forget is formative assessment. This is assessment that we do as we're going through our teaching. They're little quick checks to find out Those things such as we talked about, such as pacing and how much students know, are they getting it, are they following us? So these are little quick things that we do, and we'll talk about a lot of formative assessment in another video. Summative assessment is what we generally think of when we think of assessment. This is what we do when we've finished instruction and we want to know if students achieved or not. Teachers are usually pretty good at summative assessment, but sometimes we need reminders to remind us that formative assessment, that assessment as we go along, is probably far more helpful to both our teaching and students' learning, because we find out what's wrong in time to fix it. When we do these little formative assessments, we see what connections are being made in the brain. This is a little drawing of how the brain makes connections, and that's really how learning takes place, is all those little nerve cells connect to each other. And the more connections there are, the better students learn it, the better they remember it, and the easier it is to recall. So we really want to concentrate on helping students make those connections. How do we do that? By stopping and helping them process information as we go along. If they just memorize, they don't make very many connections, and it's easy to forget, and it's hard to remember and use. So just memorizing information is not very effective learning. We want to think about making lots and lots of connections to what they know already, for what they're going to teach next. Make those connections. So another part of DTM is direct teaching of strategies. So what is a learning strategy? It's a technique that we can use to help our learning be more effective. How can strategies help? They can help at every stage of the learning process, and if they're particularly helpful if we learn when to use a strategy. For example, a strategy might be to make a picture in our head of what we're learning. That would be great during instruction. It may be to quickly draw a picture, or to take notes, or to talk to a neighbor. All of these are little strategies. But to learn strategies and to learn when to use them can make us much better learners. And the diagnostic teaching method is designed so that we can teach strategies so that our students can become better learners. Strategies can motivate students. They can help students with comprehension. They can help students with retention. In other words, help students remember their learning. They can help students recall learning. They can help students apply learning in new situations. Knowing the strategy to use can help in all these areas. What does the research say? People who study this all the time say that people who are really good learners, they learn very fast, they're very smart people, they use lots of strategies. It also tells us that if someone's not a very good learner, they can get to be a better learner because strategies can be taught. So this is what DTM is really about, is helping our students become better learners because they learn strategies that can help them learn. How do we teach strategies? We teach it through modeling, through direct instruction, through practice, and through feedback. Let's look at each of these to see a little bit more what we mean. Modeling. When you're teaching, use strategies. For example, one strategy we'll talk about is think aloud. So you can be writing notes on the board and be thinking aloud, saying, I'm going to write this down because it's very important to remember. It's the main point of this story. So in other words, you are modeling for students how to do a think aloud, how to use that strategy. So when you're trying to teach a strategy, Model it first. Use it yourself. Then teach the strategy. Say, this is a strategy. This is how you use it. This is how it works. And actually teach students about it. The next part is to give students practice. For example, another strategy is summarizing. You read a passage and then you stop and summarize. So teach students how to do that. Model it for them, teach them how to do it, and then give them some reading and stop. Now summarize. Now read some more. Now stop. Now summarize. In other words, you help them practice that until it becomes natural for them to use it themselves. Then give students feedback. That was a very good summary you did. Did you get the main points? I think you did. That's what's important in summarizing, is to get those main points. See, you're telling them exactly what they did right. And if they need to do something to improve, you tell them specifically what that is. So we model, we teach the strategy, we give them practice, and we give them feedback. So let's review DTM. What is special about the diagnostic teaching method? We diagnose by carefully assessing our learning, often before, during, and after instruction. We use good teaching techniques all the way through our instruction. And lastly, we help students learn specific, effective strategies that they can use. And we help them learn those by modeling, by doing direct instruction, teaching the strategy, by helping students practice the strategy, and by giving them feedback. In the other videos that we provide with this lesson, we are going to go into each of these points more carefully, but this just kind of gives you an overview of diagnostic teaching methods. Remember, students can be taught to learn more effectively, and if you get good at DTM, you're going to be the one who teaches them to be better learners. Thank you.